Hello, welcome to the Demography Talks podcast. Today we will talk about Russia's demographic crisis. For the first time in Russian history, the annual number of deaths exceeded the number of births in the 1990s, and the population started to decline. This was when the alarm bell was rung and the demographic crisis began, but its roots grow deeper than it seems. Why is Russia in a demographic crisis? The main reasons are high mortality, too many people die, especially males of working age, and low fertility. Few babies are born. And this leads to population decline. The total population is decreasing. We will dig deeper into each of these, but before that, a quick summary of Russia. Russia is a transcontinental country spanning Eastern Europe and Northern Asia. It is the largest country globally by area and the most populous country in Europe. Russia's economy in the world is the 11th largest by nominal GDP. It is a recognized nuclear weapons state, possessing the world's largest stockpile of nuclear weapons, with the fourth highest military expenditures. Following the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, it became the Russian Federation. Russia is divided into 85 federal subjects. Russia is a multinational state, home to over 193 ethnic groups nationwide. In the 2010 census, roughly 81% of the population were ethnic Russians, and the remaining 19% were ethnic minorities. In the 1950s, Russia was the fourth in the world by the number of population, after China, India, and the USA. It lost its position in the 1980s to Indonesia, when it became the fifth most populous country. In the 1990s, it became the sixth, with Brazil taking its previous place. In 2005, it moved to the seventh position, giving up the place to Pakistan, and in 2010 the ninth position, with Nigeria and Bangladesh climbing up. Russia holds the same position with a resident population of 145 million, according to Rosstat. In 2050, Russia will have the 15th place, and in 2100 the 19th. At the regional level, we can see that some regions experienced an increase and some a decrease during 1990 and 2020. In the 1990s, most regions were experiencing population decline or stagnation. The only increase was registered in the western regions. Decline continues, but in the 2000s, three middle regions started to register a slight increase: Yamalo-Nenetsky Автономный округ, Khanty-Mansiyski Автономный округ Yugra, and Tyumenskaya Oblast. It is essential to mention that approximately 70% of the population is located in the European part of Russia, that represents only 20% of the territory. What about the war in Ukraine? Will it lead to a greater decline? It's difficult to estimate at the moment, but according to UK estimates, approximately 15,000 Russian people died in the war. And a massive brain drain is expected. According to BBC, 200,000 people fled by mid-March. Russians chose countries like Armenia, Georgia, and Turkey due to their visa-free regimes. Russia's Association for Electronic Communications, an industry body, says that up to 70,000 IT professionals have left since the war began, and as many as 100,000 were expected to leave in April. The Russian government reacted to the departure of tech professionals by approving legislation to eliminate income taxes between now and 2024 for those who work for information technology companies. But this is a process that started even earlier. Between 2000 and 2019, almost 2 million people left the country. The profile of those leaving the country has changed from economic reasons to political ones. In a survey conducted between 2017 and 2018 by the Atlantic Council, 40% of emigrants who had left since 2000 cited the general political climate, and 29% persecution and poor human rights as reasons to leave. Of the 100 surveyed by the Atlantic Council, 36% had a master's degree or a doctorate. Laws passed by Mr. Putin's government to restrict the ability of scientists to collaborate internationally and to conduct public outreach have encouraged many on their way. Russian emigrants are behind some of the world's most successful digital startups, such as Revolut, a mobile banking app based in London, co-founded by Nikolai Storonsky. It was valued at $33 billion in 2021. Miro, a software publisher started by two Russian entrepreneurs, is now worth up to $18 billion. According to the UN population forecasts, the population of Russia will continue decreasing, and by 2100 it will reach approximately 125 million people, about 20 million less than 2020. That is a 13.5 loss of the current population until 2100, compared to Germany, which will lose 11%. However, the population in the USA will increase by 31% by 2100. Now let's check the age and sex structure of Russia. In 1950s, the young population aged 0 to 14 represented 30%. The working age population, considered aged 15 to 64, 65% of the total population, and the old age population aged 65 and more, 5% of the total population. In 2020, the young population represented only 18% of the population. It almost decreased by half in 70 years, while the working age population remained the same. The old age population increased by 3 times. According to the United Nations forecasts, in 2100, the young and working age populations will decrease by 10% compared to the present day, and the old age population will increase by 36%. Now let's explore why the population is declining so fast in Russia, especially the working age population. First, we will talk about mortality. Life expectancy mainly stagnated and has even slightly decreased since the 1960s. In 1985, there was short progress due to the anti-alcohol campaign by Gorbachev. After that, it continued to decline. Only after 2000, the life expectancy starts to increase. This increase can be connected to the control of the production and sale of ethanol since 2006. Advancement in the blood pressure control as well. The gap between men and women kept increasing over the years, in 2020 reaching 11 years. In 2020, the life expectancy for male was 67 years old and 77.5 for females. This is similar to the life expectancy for males in Kyrgyzstan, Cambodia, and Philippines. The life expectancy for females is similar to the one in El Salvador, Mexico, and Nicaragua. Now, why is Russian lifespan so short? Non-communicable diseases are increasing, especially cardiovascular diseases and neoplasms. The injuries are decreasing, but they are still high compared to other countries, almost double compared to Germany, for example. We also need to consider that the COVID-19 pandemic had a severe toll on the health of the Russian population, impacting life expectancy. The health of the Russian population is improving, but still slower compared to, for example, Germany. The healthy life expectancy increased by 9 years for males and by 5 years for females in about 20 years. The increase was smaller for Germany, but German men spend 9 years more in better health than Russian men, and Russian women spend only 4 years less in good health than German women. According to the World Happiness Report, Russia is the 80th among all the countries, preceded by countries like Uzbekistan or Brazil. Some of the main causes of high mortality in Russia are alcohol, which is responsible for cardiovascular diseases and external causes of death. It's estimated that globally around 1.4% of the population have an alcohol use disorder. In Russia, for example, the prevalence is 4.7%, meaning that almost 1 in 20 has an alcohol dependence at any given time. 1 in 10 Russians, aged between 30 and 34, has an alcohol dependency. Smoking is another reason. According to the Russian Public Opinion Research Center, 35% of Russians are smoking, 20% of which 1 packet per day. In 2019, 70% of deaths were attributed to smoking. HIV/AIDS. 1% of all deaths were attributed to HIV infections, relatively high compared to other countries in Europe. For example, in Bulgaria or Germany, only 0.04% of people died from HIV/AIDS in 2019. What about health expenditures? How much is Russia spending on healthcare compared to other countries? Germany, for example, spends almost double the amount that Russia spends, and the USA spends nearly 3 times more than Russia on healthcare. Russia's health expenditures are similar to those in Albania, Botswana, and Morocco. Compared to the ex-Soviet countries, Russia spends more than Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan, but less than Armenia, Georgia, and the Kyrgyz Republic, by 30 to even 50% more. What about fertility? Another reason why the population is declining is low fertility. In the 1850s, total fertility rate in Russia was 7, which was typical for traditional agricultural societies. In less than 200 years, the total fertility rate fell under 2. If we watch the graph again, we will see that Russia experienced a few demographic crises. The first one was during the First World War in 1914-1918, but also during the Civil War 1917-1922. The second one was in 1932-1933 due to collectivization and famine. Fast urbanization, all these changes brought changes to the family structure. Due to the interdiction of private property, many families stopped being independent. The third crisis was the Second World War. The Second World War, with deportations, after-war famine, and a decrease in the number of men, led to a decrease in the number of births. And the last crisis, 1988-1993, was due to economic crisis. To reach a replacement level, total fertility rate should be 2.1. Since 1967, fertility has been falling under the replacement level. After 1998, it started to increase slowly, but since 2015, the trend has been downward again. Some connect this to economic reasons. Total fertility rate now is similar to the one in Australia, Ireland, and Sweden. Why is fertility declining? More years in school for girls, women participating more in the labor market, decrease in child mortality, the increase in well-being of children causes a decline in the number of children. Declining child labor. Children are not needed to contribute to the household anymore. Children are getting more and more expensive. And what about migration? Can migration mitigate the population decline? Let's see. In 2006, to compensate for the country's demographic decline, the Russian government started simplifying immigration laws. It launched a state program for assisting voluntary immigration of ethnic Russians from former Soviet republics. Officially, from the beginning of the program until 2018, almost 1 million people benefited from this program. In August 2012, as the country saw its first demographic growth since the 90s, President Putin declared that Russia's population could reach 146 million by 2025, mainly as a result of immigration. At the same time, under legal changes made in 2012, undocumented immigrants who are caught will be banned from re-entering the country for 10 years. In April 2014, new citizenship rules were introduced, allowing eligible citizens from former Soviet republics to obtain Russian citizenship. These have gained strong interest among Russian-speaking residents of those countries. However, there are an estimated 4 million undocumented immigrants from the ex-Soviet states in Russia. New laws require migrants to be fluent in Russian, to know Russian history and laws. Temporary migration is common to Russia. About 7 million people from Central Asia, the Balkans, and East Asia are coming to work temporarily in Russia. Most of them work in the construction, cleaning, and in the household industries. 88% of migrants are men. The Russian opposition is opposed to worker migration, and the hate for worker migration is becoming severe. And now, a few conclusions. The war might have worsened the demographic crisis, increasing mortality and the brain drain. COVID-19 had a significant toll on the mortality and population health. The number of births is decreasing and will continue to be exceeded by deaths. The number of the working-age population will continue to decrease. Work immigration cannot solve the crisis, especially under the present conditions. Aging will continue, the retirement age will continue to increase. Losing people is crucial. With a reduced fertility rate and high mortality, the load on the working population increases because each worker has to support more retired people. I also want to give you some food for thought. An excerpt from Yuval Harare's book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. Global warming, in contrast, will probably have a different impact on different nations. Some countries, most notably Russia, might actually benefit from it. Russia has relatively few coastline assets, hence it is far less worried than China or Kiribati about rising sea levels. And whereas higher temperatures are likely to turn Chad into a desert, they might simultaneously turn Siberia into the breadbasket of the world. Moreover, as the ice melts in the far north, the Russian-dominated Arctic sea lanes might become the artery of global commerce, and Kamchatka might replace Singapore as the crossroads of the world. All the sources I used will be displayed in the description of this video. Please like and subscribe if you liked the video and if you want me to create more. Thank you very much for your attention.